What up, everybody? The Commanders have won 4 in a row. They've scored 30 again. They're just an absolute freight train offensively. And what stands out to me by a freaking mile, Mitchell, is they didn't play all that well and dominated. They dominated this game. Welcome into Beltway Football Live. I'm JP Finley. That's Mitch Tischler. We are brought to you by MGM National Harbor. Commanders have won 4 in a row. Date with the Ravens next week. Dude.
I mean,
this is serious.
We watched a first half here where it didn't feel like the Commanders' offense played particularly well.
First half stats, so I grabbed these.
All of a sudden, you look up, it's 24 points on the board.
Jaden was 11 of 21. So the high-level efficiency that we've grown accustomed to,
yeah,
you didn't see that. And the difference is Cleveland plays a lot of man. They've seen a lot of zone the last couple weeks. So Jaden's able to pick those zones apart. Against the man, he had to hit kind of the home run plays. And guess what? He did.
I mean, there was
he's answering every question.
There were so many times that Darius Smith would come around the edge, Jaden would elude him, and he would just be left on his knees on the ground looking around like, what is going on here? Because Jaden was just a ghost to this Browns defense. He kept making big plays. He kept eluding pressure. It was impressive.
At halftime of this game, Jaden accounted for about 250 total yards, a touchdown. He did have the pick. He is so calm and in control throughout. They didn't really get the run game going that terrifically, but then it was the big plays. Yeah. Eckler's able to hit the big one. Terry's able to hit the big one.
How about Jaden on fourth down hits the big one?
Dude, they've converted every fourth down they've tried all year.
Jaden,
all year. I think they're 8 of 8 or 9 of 9. There
were 4 plays where the Browns had a free rusher coming at Jaden. He had 2 completions for 73 yards and 2 rushes for 63 yards. Dude, it's impossible to believe that what we're watching on the field is a Washington Commanders offense.
Well, and honestly, today, being at Northwest Stadium where it was packed, and it was almost all burgundy. And, dude, I don't know if you started getting it. In the last 24, 36 hours, I started getting people asking me for tickets.
Oh,
hey, man,
all over the
get
place.
me down on the field. Just so we're clear, I ain't got no tickets.
I can't get down to the field, so
right.
we don't have a whole lot of pull at the moment.
The answer is no to everything. We can't get you tickets. But this place was packed and loud and burgundy and gold.
And when
there were some Browns fans, but it was overwhelming burgundy and gold. They were hitting the wave in the third quarter. It was
they got the Browns to quit early in this game.
Well, the Browns also suck. At
some
point,
Deshaun Watson is
that.
broken. But Mikey Sainer
cooked.
still had the big hit right over there about the 20-yard line, and Deshaun Watson got up and gave him a little shove. I think that got the whole defense going. And then, of course, you had the fourth down play right here where Deshaun just said, hey, I'm good.
Watson finished it at halftime. Watson was 8 of 18 for 67 yards. He'd been sacked 3 times. And the Browns' rushing attack, which we were told might be relevant, had 8 carries for 14 yards, good for 1.5 a pop. The defense, Washington's defense was very good. That's 2 games in a row their defense has been very good. And I don't know what Arizona's offense is because at times they can be –
looks like they're putting up points today, but it's hot and cold.
But I know that Cleveland's defense is terrible, and offense, rather, is terrible, and I think Washington's defense really clamped down on them right away. Deshaun Watson at this point is not a pro quarterback. I don't know what he is. They should have gone to Jameis if they cared about winning. But
they went to him on the 1 4th down play,
right? The
which
amount
was
of
bizarre.
infighting going on there, we're like – what do you think the relationship is between quarterback, head coach, GM, ownership?
Well, we were talking about it
I think it's a horror movie that we used to watch here that we no longer watch.
It absolutely was. You have Deshaun Watson and Kevin Stefanski. You have Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh. Right. You have Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. Probably the 3 most dysfunctional quarterback coach duos.
But, dude, so here's my thought. We can assign a letter grade, how they finished the game, right? Jaden ended up 14 of 25 for 238, a touchdown and a pick. He had another 80 on the ground. I think the Washington offense, I think they protected fairly well. I thought they blocked fairly well. They got bailed out. Their YPC and stuff's going to look better because of a couple big chunk plays. I don't mean this negatively, and I want to be clear, nobody takes this negatively. I think this offense played a B-, C+ game. The first half especially. And I think the fact that they are this explosive, even in their B-, C+ game, is a
difference maker.
Dude, beyond that, it's what do we got here? What are we watching? Because if you start to extrapolate and look out over a series, next week's huge because the Ravens are the Ravens.
It's a different world next week when you're playing a team like that.
The way Baltimore runs the football seems like it could be a real problem for Washington.
The tight ends are going to be a test for these linebacking crew.
What if, though, defensively, I think Washington has some questions, and we all know that.
Yeah.
But what if offensively they're just able to throw haymakers? Like we can match you back and forth. Like you saw the Bengals-Ravens today go into overtime.
I think we saw that because you had some struggles there on offense. You had Jaden get hit a couple times. Brandon Coleman got beat by Myles Garrett. I don't think Garrett got credit for the sack ultimately, but you had the big plays on top. You had the scramble and the throw to Terry right there. You had the drop in the bucket to De'Ami Brown. I mean, and the fact that we're talking about De'Ami Brown catching a drop in the bucket
Brown's out.
Impressive.
But, I mean, good for
the
De'Ami,
point,
dude.
Right, but the point is...
And Jaden called that deep shot.
Yeah.
He just told us in postgame that he kind of had to run out of bounds the play before, and he's standing there with Cliff, and he's like, hey, let me get a deep shot. And Cliff's like, sure.
We got a bunch of tweets of people saying you could see it on the TV broadcast when he ran out of bounds, turn around and say something to Cliff. This isn't the first time they've called a shot. We saw it start in the first preseason game of the year when they went to Terry deep or De'Ami deep against the Jets, and it's just continuing on. And if you're saying that the offense was a B-, C+,
I don't know. Does that seem fair?
I think that's about fair. What do you think the defense is? An A? I mean,
today?
Did you think we were not
the defensive performance from Washington today?
Yes.
They were fantastic. They were an A. 7 sacks, generating turnovers.
Getting after the QB the way they did is unbelievable.
They got an A in rocks for jocks. Like that offense is so bad that like I don't know how tough of the class was.
Do you remember what the UNC class was that all the basketball and football players were taking? That was a fake class.
I don't. I know that I took a fake class in Maryland. It was called How Things Work, and it was like me and the whole football team.
My minor was.
I learned how an air conditioner works.
That's good.
Kind of interesting.
I got my minor in English based solely on movie classes. It met once a week from 6 to 9 p.m. on Wednesday nights, and you just watched a movie. It was fantastic.
Level of stoned for movie class. Like
nah,
9 out of 10?
That was never my bag of tricks.
Don't believe you. Don't believe him, folks.
I slept through that class quite often. Don't get me wrong, but.
All right. Offensively, Jaden finishes 14 to 25. Dude,
let's get to the rushing numbers.
They won a game where they got to pull the quarterback because they were kicking the other team's ass so bad.
And I asked,
let's be where our feet are. They won a game. Shout out to the Bellevues. Yeah. They won a game where they got to pull their quarterback because they were kicking the other team's ass so bad. Think about that.
Did you? I mean, I've covered this team for 15 years. You've been around Washington for 43 years of your life. I can't think of a single time that this has happened in my time covering the team, and some of the statistics
and the guy that
are
just
gaudy.
Pulled him up from IR. I mean, so you said you want your rushing numbers. I'll give him
because the rushing
34
numbers are
for 215, 6.5 a carry.
215, and Brian Robinson essentially stopped carrying the ball after halftime.
Well, dude, how about this? So I'll give you the long for every runner. Jaden's long was 34 yards.
Yeah.
Eckler had the 50-yarder. Jeremy McNichols broke a 28-yarder, and B-Rob had a 10-yarder.
But what about Terry? Didn't Terry have a 2-yarder in there?
Terry had a 2-yard run.
Right, let's just
Mariota had a 3-yard run.
There you go.
I was going for like the longs, like the actual longs.
215 yards on the ground. 2 straight
detail.
games with 200 yards.
Sure.
Hasn't happened since the early 90s. There's so many stats that this team is starting to accumulate that are, at least for this franchise, historical and starting to look NFL-wise historical. At halftime, I asked you, am I crazy that I think Jaden Daniels is the MVP of the league right now? Because forget offensive rookie of the year. I think he's the most explosive player in football right now.
Dude, it's a reasonable conversation. We're getting trolled.
Yeah, we're getting no. What do you think?
Disagree? Lamar, dude,
that's right.
Fine.
It's a discussion. Lamar's in there, and it's going to be fun next week to see those two go back and forth.
Well, and Jaden said, he's like, yeah, me and Lamar are really cool. A lot of respect there. Excited to be on the field with them. We don't need to look ahead too fast.
No, but just
this next week is the biggest matchup in Commanders history.
It's also the biggest matchup it's also the biggest matchup in the NFL, and is going to have Talk TV going nuts.
But the Commanders haven't had an important game yet. This is it. Now you go Washington history. This is the biggest game maybe since 2020. Heineke diving for this. But to have an early season, generally when Washington has been able to get into the playoffs, even the rocket ship, the RG3 year, it required them getting super hot late.
They won 7 straight. Yeah,
right. Like this is week 6, and they're the talk of the NFL. What is your letter grade offensively? Because I'm at B-, C+, whatever you want to call that.
I think that I'll give them. They
scored 34.
They scored 34.
Cleveland's ass.
I think we're judging on a poor scale if we're giving them a B-, C+, because we're judging them based on the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, but that's the scale.
Yeah.
Like the scale is Cincy.
I know.
You know what I mean? The scale is Tress doesn't punt. But the fact that I think good teams win games in different ways, right?
Yes.
Not every game's going to be a runaway. And I think the fact that this team was able to win this game, the head coach called it grimy. Jaden Daniels, the quarterback that's out of this world, started his comments by saying, I got to be better. Terry talked about, I left a lot out there. And they won. I don't even care what the final score was. It was 34-6 when they called the dogs off. And it wasn't their A game.
How about your two defensive linemen, John Allen, Deron Payne, 2 years
Playing
ago,
rock, paper,
are
scissors.
fighting on the sideline in Dallas. Now they're rock, scissors, paper to see who's staying in the game.
You still say that wrong. It's rock,
still
paper,
do.
scissors.
That's okay.
Jaden throws a pick. The score should have been in the 40s.
They could have been in the
40s. At the 1 yard line.
Terry just kept his footing for 2 more yards there, right?
He kind of got hit.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't on Terry that he didn't get there, but I think the 215 yards on the ground is just so impressive because this Browns front four is good. They have 2 edge rushers that are Trey Hendrickson maybe is in that conversation, but
Garrett's better.
Oh no, Garrett's absolutely. I'm saying was Darius Smith being the other one, whatever you want to say. Their D line is good. Their secondary has some big names in it, and they were able to hit big play after big play after big play when they needed it. And having it start with
out, I think that helped Washington, but they were hitting big plays when he was
having
out
Austin
there too.
Eckler hit that big run early. It's just such a testament to the player that he is and what he's done since he's been here.
We did see the one big screen that Eckler hit down the right sideline that came after Jaden. Listen, Jaden got rocked in the pocket. And for all the worry about him running, he got rocked in the pocket.
Multiple times.
He got up late, though, where he ended up coming out one more series after. I thought for Jaden, it was he's a quarterback in the NFL. You're going to get hit. And he got hit pretty good. And he seemed a little slow to get up, but there was a Browns player that was down getting medically treated to. So maybe he was just kind of taking his time. He got asked about it in postgame and kind of joked, like, yeah, I was just being dramatic. I'm totally fine. And then
you know who I'm worried about.
But the next play, he hits Eckler for that screen. The screen call was perfect. I do think coaching-wise, they deserve some real credit. Kingsbury has been really good calling plays. And then I'd also add, if you consider defensively, they've said we're getting closer, we're going to play violent, we're going to play downhill. You are starting to see that. Luvu was out of this world
Unbelievable.
Today. Wagner's been really good. I think Chin's really starting to help them. Dorrance Armstrong is starting to
fly around.
Yeah, I mean,
he missed a wide open sack and he was killing himself for it. But you're starting to see that D-line start to get some pressure. And what I liked was you started seeing later in the game, they went Johnny Newton, John Allen, Deron Payne on obvious passing downs, and those guys were able to get to the quarterback and get a little pressure. Deshaun Watson was the most hit quarterback in the NFL coming into today with 49. Gonna leave today also the most hit quarterback. I believe there were 11 QB hits, 7 sacks. I mean, these numbers are gaudy.
I don't know what happens with the Browns and Watson, but that thing is broken.
And let's be honest,
that thing is broken.
Think about
that is a boat taking on water.
And what were Watson's final numbers? Because they ended up a lot better.
He got a little bit of junk late.
But
at
there should have been 2 interceptions in the
Right.
first half. There was a ball that hit Quan Martin's hands. There were a couple of throws.
What do you think he finished with? Even knowing he got some junk late.
I think he finished 50% passing and a $135 in yards.
15 to 28 for 125.
Holy moly!
And that's with junk when you're down 34-6.
Yeah. That thing is broken.
At the end of the third quarter, I filed a story for NBC, and the numbers were so runaway at that point.
Right.
And dude, I mean, it was a 3-score game. It was a 3-score game at halftime.
I mean, this thing was over when he hit Terry for the long touchdown.
Sure.
I mean, that was it. Like
Diami
for the long touchdown. That was it. Like you saw this Browns team slump shoulders, like kind of quit.
They're a mess.
And you know what? It's easy to identify.
They're a mess, and the owner is a meddler, and it feels so good to watch that from afar.
It's easy to identify because we've watched Washington Redskins football team, Commanders teams over the years do the exact same thing on the opposite side.
Totally.
And to watch this fan base
so different, man.
They were able to pull Jaden early. The fans were leaving early because the game was over.
Right.
There was nothing left to watch.
It's crazy.
I mean, it was unbelievable. We've
kind of done it, but yeah, we'll start with Game Balls and Goats, brought to you by Oarsman Automotive of Virginia. Those are our guys. We ride with them. Once you do the same thing. It was kind of funny when I pulled into the parking lot today. I pulled in, and some guys listening to the pod, and they're like, "Oh, JP, where'd you get your car from?" And I was like, "My guys." They're like, "We know, man. We know about Oarsman." I feel like we named a lot there. We could probably just go rapid fire. Jaden.
Yeah, Jaden, B-Rob, Austin, Terry early in this game.
B-Rob finished 7 for 18 with two touchdowns.
But both of those touchdowns were exactly what Dan Quinn said.
Early when
grimy and gritty.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I'm a little concerned about B-Rob and the knee. And he only had 7 carries. It's his least of the season.
They were able to kind of put him on ice.
In post game, you could see he was
hurt.
He was
it's a thing.
Smarting? Is that the word? Smarting a little bit. Yeah. So I'm a little concerned about it, but that's for future us to worry about.
Yeah, but it's a thing. I think it was a little more concerning this week than folks expected. I think they're lucky how this game flow went.
Right.
They were able to not need to lean on him.
But Austin, Terry, B-Rob, Jaden.
Diami?
Old line, Diami.
Sure.
I know that Danny Frank doesn't want us to give Terry a game ball for that
incorrect.
fumble, but he's incorrect because he was.
Terry went
important.
4 for 112. And really gave them a spark when this thing was sputtering.
I think he had 3 for 88 in the first half or something.
Think about offensively early on in this thing, it seemed like it was going to be a total rock fight.
Yeah.
And that neither side was going to move the ball much. And then Jaden's able to hit the deep shot. Terry gets one. Sorry, Danny.
Yeah.
Defensively, though, dude,
Luvu
was out
Dorrance.
of. Yeah.
Mikey Sainer still. The hit that he put the hit that he put on Deshaun early in that game. I keep going back to that as the play that kind of turned it for the defense, where they were able to kind of start turning it on.
I got one goat, but I'll wait a second.
Right.
Luvu finished with 7 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits, and a fumble recovery, which at one point was an interception, and they changed it.
I love Dan Quinn said after the game, he's like, it's so fun having Bobby and Frankie Luvu lined up next to each other because Bobby Widener is such a calm, bringing together, influence or whatever, and Luvu is just wound to bleep, and two of them.
But Luvu's so chill outside of it.
Right. He's definitely a flip the switch kind of guy.
Yeah.
But he flipped the switch like we didn't know he had because that guy was flying around this football field. Not even the sacks, which obviously were big as they were, but he was just a difference maker. And you saw the Browns starting to try and rotate players towards his side to slow him down, and they just couldn't do it.
Maybe a hat tip to McCaffrey, just a dog as a blocker.
Yeah.
Absolute dog.
I'll tell you what, there was the one deep shot that Jaden took to Terry down the middle
also,
when he was
John
under pressure.
Should get one.
Yes. Jaden took a shot to Terry down the middle of the field when he was under pressure, and Luke was running a deep run just to the outside of him and was just wide. Like it should have been a touchdown.
There was a touchdown that could have gone to Terry where Jaden kept it on the edge and picked up a first down.
But
the catch Terry on the
how about the catch Luke had over there? I mean, it was one of the
wonder
few.
If that corner just turns his head.
Right. It was one of the few bad throws that we've seen from Jaden here, just kind of behind his receiver a little bit late. But Luke just kind of magically ended up with the football.
I kind of think Jaden could have had a touchdown right here. Ertz was running the goal line on a drag and was open.
Oh, yeah.
And he just rifled it more to the corner. I don't know if he thought somebody else was going to run a backside there or something. I don't know what happened.
We haven't seen Jaden throw a lot of interceptions. I mean, this was this his worst game? Was the Bucs his worst game? I don't think he played. He played for him for the level that we've seen. He didn't play particularly well. He still put up 34 points and blew the doors off.
Totally. Accounted for probably 320 total yards. Jaden's been really impressive. Do you have goats, can't kicks, any of it? There's not a ton. Defensively, they were really good. I think offensively, they had 2 turnovers.
Yeah.
But the guys that created those turnovers are 2 of their best, most dependable players. So I'm not
overly concerned
about it. Save the outrage for me.
I don't know where you could really argue too much about. The kickoff situation is a little odd to me. They're having the little low liners to the corners, and I get the trying to pin them down, but against a team that has a explosive, and maybe part of it was they weren't overly concerned with Cleveland's return game, but against a team with an Austin Eckler back there, if you give Austin that kind of room on a low kick, I'm a little concerned about what that is. I don't know, is that Seibert's leg? Is that the plan? I guess we'll have to talk about it a little this week and figure out where that falls.
And I don't think it's mattered. And frankly, I think with the way Cleveland was playing offense in this thing, it
probably didn't matter at the end of the day.
They should have gone on every 4th down because you just have no concern if the other team gets the ball.
Shout out to the 3rd down defense. I don't know if they ended up catching one late. They were 0 for 11 in the middle of the 4th quarter on 3rd down.
Yeah, they were 0 for the first half.
Yeah,
Did they get one?
I don't know, but quite frankly, it was a junk third down if it
1
happened.
for 13.
1 for 13, and that's with all the junk at the end of this game.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the Commanders now 8 of 8 on fourth down, which is for the season.
I
2
mean,
of 2
just
today.
impressive.
I would have gone for it on every. There was a play that I actually wanted to make a note of early in the game when it was still a contest, and it was a 4th and 2. And in my head, and they hadn't scored yet. I don't think it was 4th and 2, or maybe it was 3-0. And I was like, you know what? Just kick. Cleveland can't score. Just if you go 5 field goals, you're going to win this thing.
That's
Cleveland
what they did against the
cannot
Giants,
score, right? And they didn't. Cliff went for it. It was a great play call. They got the first down, touchdown a couple plays later. And I just think this organization, I think DQ and then Kingsbury, I think on the 4th down they ran the little reverse slip to Eckler and he hit it for a big one. I just think organizationally they've decided upon a really aggressive mindset. Think about it, they scored just before halftime again. I think they had a minute 29 when they caught the punt.
They scored with 2:30 left or so, and then 3 and out quickly for the Browns.
I think they scored so fast that Cleveland had to punt it again before halftime.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they scored the first touchdown to make it 17-7 or 17-3 or whatever it was, and 17-3. Yeah, and you're like, okay, Cleveland's going to do what they're going to do, and then the Commanders get the ball back, they're just going to kneel on it, and then all of a sudden they hit Diami on the deep one, and you're just like, what is happening here?
Right. The vibe in here was awesome. Credit to all the fans.
Unbelievable.
The fans were great, and I'm sure there were some Cleveland fans, but they're so bad. I don't think a lot are going to travel for this situation.
Dots of orange.
Yeah, behind the bench. But it was a really impressive day. It was perfect weather.
I texted you.
I got
to the stadium.
Halftime performer.
I got to the stadium at 10 a.m. this morning, and we pulled into our typical parking lot, and it was packed. I'm zigzagging between.
One goat that I've learned, is when you park in Gold A, why do they have, what do you call those, jersey walls or barriers? Why open it up? It's all Gold A. Why overcomplicate a relatively small portion of a parking lot? Because I ended up having to turn into this other area, and then I had to back out.
I had to do that.
Dude, I had to pull my badge out. I was like, I got to. I'm trying to pretend like
it was super important that you got it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You know what? I think we're picking nits here. Let's get to our stuff.
We're doing this stuff. Game Balls and Goats is sponsored.
This is your goat?
I have a goat.
Go, please. Go
Beyond
the
the jersey walls.
Go away, jersey walls.
This is a friend of the program, so we're not going to name any names. But if you spill something on someone's stuff, say something so we can clean it up, and it doesn't set on your stuff.
Oh, my goodness.
Dude, it's great. I love this bag. I love this bag.
You do love
it. It might be ruined. I'm going to give it a real cleaning when I get home.
Inside the bag or just on top?
It's completely melted, saturated.
I'm looking at your bag. I don't know that I see it.
Put it on the stream.
Yeah.
Look at all that.
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
Look at that.
I'll tell you guys.
Look at that.
JP is a man who's proud of a lot of things. He's accomplished
a
lot
gift
in
from
his
my
life.
wife.
Right. He's accomplished a lot in his life. He loves that bag a lot.
If you spill on it, that's okay. Accidents happen. Tell me. All right. Now we'll move forward.
All right. Let's get to 100 Chips, brought to you by MGM. Tap Sports Bar, your home for all things Commanders.
Sweating again? It's beautiful out here.
They're on the road next week. I'm good.
It's beautiful out here.
They're on the road next week in Baltimore. What better? If you're not going to be in Baltimore for the game,
that's
go head over to MGM and check out.
Dude, it's official. We're going to MGM
on 10/14.
October 14th. Monday Night Football.
We will be there.
I think it's Bills-Jets. Two teams are going to – who won Bills-Texans?
Texans kicked a game-winning field goal at the end.
The Jets are kind of a mess. They lost in London. The Bills might be that's 2 L's in a row.
Kyrie Fairborn kicked a deep one, and I'm sure Aaron Rodgers threw the entire Jets team and Robert Saleh under the bus.
Rodgers threw 3 picks in that game, I think.
Rodgers threw a pick 6 and 2 in the first
half.
Right. He looked
terrible.
terrible.
Tell me who did what.
100 Chips. JP and I both put all 100 Chips on the Commanders -3. We should have taken some alternate lines. We should have taken everything.
Early lean, I'm taking the points next week. Do we know what it is?
I haven't looked yet. Why don't you take a look and see? But I came in with 117.
DC, what's the line next week?
I came in with 117 chips. I won all 100, so I get to 217.
Mitch very committed to the
came
show
in
format here.
I'm just trying to finish this. You yell at Ethan, and I'll take care of this. JP came in with negative 60 chips. He had all 100 on the Commanders. He gets into positive land.
Now,
plus 40.
Matt. All right, so Matt Valdez.
Are you kidding me?
So Valdez
Ravens are
is the
-7
producer, right? And he's a huge Ravens fan, and he has this thing where he says Baltimore is known for exposing frauds. That teams come in there and they thrive on beating their ass. I don't think this team's. I think they can score. I just think they can keep up.
Do we know what the final of the Ravens game today was? Did they end up winning?
Should have been
41-38.
41-38, I believe.
Guess what? The Commanders did the same damn thing against the Bengals.
Right.
I expect something pretty similar next week with the Ravens. I think both teams are going to go up and down the field, score a ton of points, and we're going to get
That's for next week.
That's for next week.
I think we're going to take the same thing next week.
I'm going to take some alternate overs next week. Let's get to over-unders. We tied.
So what?
1-1.
We tied on the chips? We both won.
I'm at plus 217. You're at plus 40.
Okay.
So, we're making our way around.
Yeah, but you're going to get greedy and chase parlays, and I'm just going to keep chopping woods. Long season.
I mean, sure.
I think, didn't I win chips last year?
You keep saying that. You came back and won over-unders last year. Yeah. I won chips. But that's okay.
You can tell how locked in I am when we get to the stuff.
Over-unders. We're tied at 1. Starting off, we had
shout out to Mitch here.
Jaden Daniels.
He did a good job. He wrote everything down.
Ethan Cadeau.
Ethan Cadeau?
Cadeau.
How do you do?
Cadeau. Ethan Cadeau
this
wrote
is high level television.
Listen, this is as organized as we get, and I know that you hate my handwriting, and I hate my handwriting because it's terrible. So I found a nice young man who has decent handwriting.
Kind of has girl handwriting.
That's what I said. I had Ethan sit down next to me.
I thought like Zim must have written this down.
I had Ethan sit down next. I go, hey, Ethan, how's your handwriting?
DJ, zoom in on that. Let the people watch and determine what they think of this handwriting. Ethan, what's your Twitter?
So I said at Ethan_Cadeau, and it's spelled like the Louisiana way. CADEAUX.
So
we're in the press box. We're in the press box this afternoon, and I wanted to make sure that we had this written down because I know that you like to be very organized. My handwriting is terrible.
Fair to write a couple things down for a live show.
And I put a blank piece of paper down. I go, Ethan, write like, hi, my name is Ethan. And he wrote hi, and I was like, I can't finish what I said. Okay, you're writing this whole thing down. And he took the time.
Can you tell they've won 4 in a row? We're going deep cuts on who wrote what. This is what he first.
He wrote out your MGM. He wrote out your MGM read on 4 pieces of paper in beautiful handwriting.
Should I do this now?
While you're reading, yeah, let's do it now. Over Under is brought to you by MGM National Harbor.
MGM National Harbor. Dude, I can't read like this. MGM National Harbor is your game day destination this fall. Catch the games all season at Tap Sports Bar and the BetMGM Sportsbook and Lounge. At Tap Sports Bar, you'll find an energetic atmosphere, indoor and outdoor TVs and bars, 48 beers on draft, and great game day food. On Sundays, when the Commanders head out of town, the Tap Sports Bar is the official
we need to be on camera
rally
for this.
location. Look forward to special appearances, a DJ, giveaways, and more. The BetMGM Sportsbook and Lounge offers a 110-foot wraparound TV screen, recliners, and an immersive game day experience. Immerse yourself. Well done. We're an organized bunch. That's pretty.
That was a pretty good throw right there.
You have it all locked in your head?
Jaden Daniels, 215.5 passing yards. I sillily went.
Didn't you go over?
Oh, I guess
everything?
I went over and you went under.
Yeah.
He went over that number.
I think
Commanders rushing yards, 163.5. We both went under. They ran for 215.
Okay.
We were dead wrong because we just did the
we're even.
Cumulative ones. And then we did sacks, 3 total sacks.
Of Watson.
They
went
way over. I went way under.
Yeah,
so
Okay.
you take a commanding 2-1 lead there.
No, I think we're even. I don't think anybody won.
I won one.
I won one.
Oh, yeah, we pushed.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure you won. I think I went under on the passing yards. You went over.
Oh, okay.
I think Cadeau might have written. Cadeau.
Thanks for nothing, Ethan.
Yeah.
You and your fancy,
he tried, but it was a good.
handwriting.
Anyway, 2-1 JP. Benji bet.
I will take it. If you're giving it to me,
I'm giving it to you.
Sold.
If I had my phone, I would double check, but I think it's yours.
Well, this is official. Lock it in.
If I won, we'll give you a half a point.
Marina, lock it in.
Benji bet. I had 26-17. You had 24-19. We both thought they were going to win. Neither of us thought it was going to be
an absolute ass kicking.
Yeah, up and down the fielding that it was, but there we are.
The up and down the fielding. I like that. This was an absolute ass kicking, and I do think part of it is that Cleveland's bad. But they have some talent defensively, at least. And, I read the things like to start Amari Cooper in fantasy and stuff. Maybe he got enough late to make him relevant. But, man, this was a fun one to watch. You want to do what makes you smile?
Let's do what makes you smile.
Fire away.
First, we got to do, I'll start with what makes me smile. At halftime, I walked out to the concourse and had an opportunity to run into Terry McLaurin Sr.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
who's a very good guy.
An incredible guy. He was telling me how much fun it was. He said he couldn't believe how much fun his son was having, and he loved watching him on the field smiling and doing what he was doing. And I said to him, I was like, this is the first time since he was in college that he had a capable quarterback throwing a great quarterback throwing him the football.
I think that's fair.
Okay, I was trying not to be too tough on anybody, but yeah. And you
Tell
know
the truth.
It made me smile to have an opportunity to catch up with him.
That's great. Dude, for me, I mean, not to circle back to the point I continue to make in this pod, but I think it's super relevant. I don't think the offense played that well today. The quarterback, the receiver, the head coach, they all said they didn't play that well today. They scored 34 and were up 34-6 in the fourth quarter. They were up 32 points in the fourth quarter. They were able to bench their starting quarterback because they had such a monster lead on a day where they didn't play that well. And I do think the Browns stink, and I'm cognizant of that. But when you could throw punches like this, you could fight with anybody. I don't know what's going to happen in Baltimore. Maybe the Ravens just shut them down, right? But when you have a kid like Jaden Daniels, when we can have a legitimate conversation about him being the best player in the NFL, and it's not silly, like that's a legitimate.
It's a real conversation.
There are. I'm not saying he is, but if you were to name 5, he's in the conversation.
Yeah.
And dude, fans, smile. Like, take a breath.
Yeah.
Enjoy this moment, man, because it is. It's special. This doesn't happen all the time. Every other time they've had an opportunity to go to the playoffs, it's because they get hot late or the division stinks or whatever. Right. This is different.
They are pressing the gas, and they are forcing teams to adjust to them. That was What Makes You Smile by Dominion National. Visit them at teethkeepers.com to find quality dental and vision plans for individuals starting under $6
this dude's
a
just
month
laughing at you when you
with
hit the teeth
value-added benefits. Enroll today at
teethkeepers.com.
teethkeepers.com.
Either way you prefer it. All right, I think we're done.
Yeah, we're done. This was a lot of fun. Excited to do it next week in Baltimore.
Yeah.
That's a big, big game. This week is going to be.
And for all the flexing conversations, Sunday, 1 o'clock.
Sunday, 1 o'clock.
Sunday, 1 o'clock. So we will roughly be on about the same time.
We have a semi-tease with maybe a pretty cool guest coming this week. Knock on wood.
Maybe.
Not going to make any promises.
I also think you look sharp.
Thank you. You know what? I think you look sharp, too.
Thanks, buddy.
I like this tie. Is this a new one?
I got this in Lake Como at Jordan Giorgio's wedding.
You know what? That's very Italian.
You know what they have in Italy? They have this in America is a $150
tie. Yeah.
It was like 3 for 22 euros, and it's all silk because I guess. Do they grow? Does silk grow? I don't know how you make silk, but they got a lot of it.
You spin silk off something. I just don't know what.
Is it a tree?
Is it a silk? What about a silkworm?
I've heard of a silkworm.
The silkworm?
I have no idea how you make silk.
Somebody,
you know how they make silk?
Yeah. You're fancy. You know how they make silk? Nope, right. He has no idea.
We don't know. We'll investigate that. We'll be back with another pod probably Tuesday evening. Watch this. Watch it again. Watch it on YouTube. Tell your friends.
Listen to it. Download it.
Send us pictures. Listen to it. All of the good things. This team is 4-1 in first place in the NFC East and on a 4-game win streak heading to Baltimore. It's about to get nuts, folks. Enjoy it. You made it this far. I'll be here.